What if I forget my lines? What if I'm not good enough? What if I can do this? What if you all get bored? What if this talk simply sucks? And what if I hadn't said these questions out loud? These are my fears, my most intimate feelings. But to be honest, I wouldn't be honoring the spirits of this talk if I hadn't just put them out in the open. But why is it, on the other hand, so strange that I just simply share my feelings with an audience that I don't even know? Socially, we have always understood fears as a concrete form of weakness that should be hidden, concealed, or even, if possible, eliminated. Fears are usually associated with something we should be ashamed of, like a fart, letters on your teeth, bad breath, or a bugger peeking out of our nose. So why on earth am I telling you which my actual fears are? Why am I displaying my fears here when, in fact, I find out that in most places, the confession of our vulnerabilities is met with humiliation, mockery, and belittlement? Well, the thing is that we all coexist with fears. It's not just me. This room is filled with fear. Some of my fellow speakers are terrified like me because in a couple of minutes it's about to be their turn. Some of you are afraid of loving someone that doesn't love you back. Some of you fear for your health or for the health of those you love. Fear of failure, fear of the uncertain, fear of deceit, fear of disappointment like me. Fear of predictable, fear of unpredictable. Fear of fear itself. And this is by no means a form of accusation. What I'm actually trying to say is that it's a kind of relief for all that this room is filled with fear, because it also means that's filled with life. Because if we try looking carefully at our fears, we might change the way we feel about them. We might even start by thanking them. Fears constantly work as a mechanism of defense or an alert when we are about to experience something new or something that in the past was painful enough to leave a mark on us, even a trauma. That alert frequently overreacts, or in other words, miscalculates the severity of situations. But there are other cases when that alert helps us not to do something that could be dangerous or unpleasant to us. Fears often help us include intelligent variables in our thought processes that can be related, for example, to accountability, damage control, contemplation of social or physical consequences, etc. So, as ashamed as we might be of them, it would do us no favor to simply try to eradicate them. Of course, that fears have no limitage of negative implications, but we need them more than we think. Not so long ago, in 2019, I was having dinner with my school friends. I was having pasta with homemade pesto, then tiramisu ice cream for dessert, then our favorite national drink, mate. Everything seemed perfect. I remember we were playing this damn game in which words cease having meaning once you start repeating them, and specifically we were laughing at the word matafuegos. But at one point, the room started to feel a little dim. The conversations became deep, melancholic, personal, as it often does with teenagers. I was really feeling the connection between me and this specific friend, the one who had in previous years introduced me to most of the wonders of life that now are part of my personality. She had taught me about philosophy, about purpose, about my meaning in life. She had dazzled me with new music and literature, specifically poetry. And in one of our encounters, where music is poetry and poetry is music, we found ourselves reading a poem from one of our favorite artists, Jim Morrison. Expose yourself to your deepest fear. After that fear has no power and the fear of freedom shrinks and vanishes. You're free. I was fascinated by the message that Morrison's poem was conveying. It made me aware of the importance of talking and recognizing our fears in order to fully understand the space they should take up in our lives. I also learned something pretty basic but difficult to put into practice. The more we hide our fears, the bigger they get, because we can only imagine their true size. It's only when we dare to look them in the eye where we can truly understand their proportion, their severity, their gateways, and why not, even their advantages. Hiding our fears only helps them to transcend into myths, and we all know that myths tend to be much bigger than the real thing. That's why I was motivated to become more open with my feelings, with my fears, with the people around me. I was really motivated to put those learnings into practice. The day arrived. I had the opportunity to expose myself to my deepest fears. I was about to share something that really mattered to me to one of my closest people in 2020 when we were all having a tough moment. Sadly, that person ignored me and laughed at me and at what I was confessing. I didn't feel as relieved as I thought I would feel, although I was able to expose myself to my deepest fear. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my feelings? What did I do wrong? Jim Morrison wasn't right after all. Not completely. Unfortunately, it wasn't the place, neither the listener, nor the moment. It wasn't just about me and how hard I tried to succeed in my self-reflective endeavor. It was also about the environment, about how others welcome and receive what I was giving them, my deepest vulnerabilities. But we tend to forget that we are not the center of life of others. Actually, we're just the other of others, and they're not always prepared nor willing to become the safe space we need in order to comfortably project our shortcomings. It's important to acknowledge that for most of the part, the world can be a hard place in which we will be harshly judged by our weaknesses, and it will be demanded of us to constantly parade our success and hide all the rest. But when it comes to dealing with fears, I learned that we won't be able to overcome them only by making ours visible to us, but it will be also fundamental to accommodate those made visible by our neighbors. That's why we have a collective responsibility as a society, to create friendly places where, if we are about to share our deepest vulnerabilities, we know that others will receive them in a way that could be helpful to us to relieve them. And friendly places where we will be willing to do the same. Thanks to these spaces, in my case, BBYO, where we can reciprocally deploy our fears, it's why I'm able to be here delivering this talk. I consider this moment as a form of growth, not only because I have personally recognized which my fears are, but also because I have found a place in which they will be received dedicatedly with love, compassion, and understanding. Thank you.